back to the Keen Garage, kids. We're going to do some reading, and we're going to start with this. What a beautiful painting. Now, we could sit here and we could do VTS, and I could ask you, what do you think's going on in this picture? And we could sit there and we could think about all the things that you could see in that picture. Possibly people boating or sailing, or maybe having a picnic, enjoying the sunshine. Oh, doesn't that look just really like something that we can't do right now? It looks so appealing because of that, as well as the fact that it looks nice. Now, what we've got there is a beautiful, beautiful picture. It's really vivid. Really vivid. That means there's really strong pictures and strong emotions that are created by this picture. What's this got to do with reading? What? Who said that? What's this got to do with reading? Well, what we're going to be looking at today is how do authors create those vivid pictures without the illustrations? Their paintbrushes aren't actual paintbrushes, but they use words. And we're going to be having a look at that today. Now I'm going to read you. I'm going to introduce you to a book. I'm going to flip it over to my dot cam over here. Okay, here we go. Some of you might have read it. Magic Tree House. I know lots of you have read these books. They're pretty fun. So this one's called, this is number 12, obviously Polar Bears Past Bedtime. As with any new book, we give it a sneak peek, and I'm going to read the blurb on the back. I mean, straight away from this, I'm thinking that it's got something to do with polar bears. They look like they're dressed up as Eskimos, and it looks a tad chilly. I'm going to read the blurb. It's Icicle City, when the Magic Tree House whisks Jack and Annie to the frozen Arctic. Luckily, a seal hunter on a dog sled lends them warm clothes. Unluckily, they get stuck on cracking ice. Uh-oh. Oh, there's a problem. Remember we've been looking at problems? Remember we've been writing problems? I know the problem in this story. Fabulous. Will the giant polar bear save them? A giant polar bear saving you? I don't think so. It might eat you. Will Jack and Annie become frozen dinners? Oh, did you see what I did there? I stopped and I thought and I actually predicted. And then this actually helped me with my learning. Wow, can you see how all our learning goes together, that we stop and we think and we predict at the same time that we give it a sneak peek? Whew, so many skills that you second graders have learned. All right, Polar Bears Past Bedtime. Polar Bears Past Bedtime by Mary Pope Osborne. Illustrated by Sal Madoka. And we're just going to read the first couple of pages. Polar Bears Past Bedtime. And hopefully you can see that. And what I'll do, I'll just freeze it so you can follow it as we go. Are you serious? Woo! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark. The sound came again. Woo! Jack sat up and turned on his light. He put on his glasses. Then he grabbed the flashlight from his table and shone it out the window. A white, snowy owl was sitting on a tree branch. Woo! The owl said again. What does this remind you of? Thinking all the way back to our very first piece of writing. Remember Jane Yolen? Remember Owl Moon? Oh, remember the pictures that she created? Its large yellow eyes look right into Jack's. What does he want? Jack wondered. Is he a sign? Like the rabbit and the gazelle? This is a series book. I wonder if I'm stopping and I'm thinking, and I haven't read all, I'll be honest, I haven't read all 11. of them before that. But I'm wondering if there's some kind of animal sign that had something to do with a rabbit and a gazelle in a previous book. And I wonder what that meant. I wonder if that's going to be significant. That means an important part of this story. See the way I stopped? A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the magic tree house for their last 2 adventures. Oh my goodness! Can you see that I stopped and I thought, and I'm thinking, it was a wonder, I'm wondering if, and then the author, knowing that I might not have read all of the series, has told me the answers, or given me a hint on some of the answers. I'll read it again. A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the magic treehouse for their last 2 adventures. Woo! Wait a second, Jack said to the owl. I'll get Annie. Jack's sister Annie always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Jack shook her and she stirred. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan sent another sign. In a split second, Annie was out of bed. Now, I just want you to stop and think for a moment. And I want you to think about this. And this is where we're going to go back to what we're talking about at the beginning. How do authors paint pictures with words? How do authors paint pictures with words? Well, if I'm thinking about, to start with, I'm thinking about the first page, and I can tell that possibly they're in a tree, because when they open the window, when Jack opens the window, there's an owl sitting in a tree. Now, I can't imagine that's going to be very, it's not going to be on the ground floor, so I'm thinking it's something high up. Okay, so our first thing is to describe the setting. Okay, so definitely notice that when things are being described. Read it, stop, close your eyes, get a picture in your mind, get that vivid picture in your mind. Try and put in all of the details that the author doesn't. And you're trying to create this picture in your mind so that you can see everywhere. And even imagine if you turned around. What more can you see as you turn around? Turn around a room or turn around a setting? What more can you see? Okay, the second thing that I've noticed is that there's some sound words in there. Now, what do I mean by sound words? Things like crash and bang. And obviously the sound word in this wasn't crash. It was woo, woo. There's my wonderful snowy owl. Woo, woo. I'll just say it again just for fun. Have a go. Woo, woo. And close your eyes and do it. And then you can really imagine it. Imagine what that snowy owl looked like. When I close my eyes, I'm really imagining something soft and fluffy. If I reached out and touched it, it'd feel almost like velvet on my fingers. So we've got those sound words which can really bring something to life. It's telling us something about the animal in this case. Now, something else which we're really led to is that the author uses lots of actions. And when you use lots of actions, you can see what's happening in the story. And we want you to do that in your writing as well. So you use those loads of small little steps to paint the picture. We're very good in our writing or in telling us the big events. Oh, we packed the car and left for the beach. I'm thinking about my writing story. We packed the car and we went to the beach. Or they packed the car and they went to the beach. Well, if you include that small detail, then telling them how it was packed, it really paints the picture because the reader can then see what's happening. So remember this in both your reading, when you're reading it, and your writing, when you're writing it. Okay, so there's our third thing, using small actions. Okay, the final thing, how we really start to learn about the characters, it's when dialogue is used. And that could be, I'm going to give you two things. External dialogue, when somebody's talking out loud, and they could be talking to themselves, or they could be talking to somebody else and having a conversation. Obviously, Jack is talking to Annie in this case and getting her to try and wake up. Jack's also talking to the owl, but the owl can't actually speak, but this is still a conversation. And when Jack's talking to the owl, it's almost like he's thinking. That's called an internal dialogue, when you're having a conversation with yourself. And I'm sure you do that a lot. I do it all the time. I have conversations. I look at the ice cream and I go, oh my goodness, that looks so good. And then I look at the apple and I go, oh my goodness, that's so good, but the ice cream might be a little nicer. Or do I go for the healthier option? And then I have this internal dialogue, but the ice cream's going to be really good, but it's going to make you fat. The apple, it's going to be really good, and it's going to be really healthy, and it's going to keep you safe. Okay, looking after your body, looking after your cells. So that's an example of an internal conversation. Another internal conversation you might be having. Oh, I know that I'm kind of maybe doing some of this stuff on my own. Do I try my best, or do I just kind of pretend to try? And hopefully you're going to try your best as much as you can. Can you try your best all the time? Probably not. That's really difficult to do. Almost impossible, I would say. But it's important that you try your best as often as you can. So here's our fourth thing. Okay, including lots of dialogue. That's how we find out about the characters. Now, what I want you to do in your reading today, I'm going to upload this document so you've got it. Okay, I'm just going to make it a little smaller so you can see it. Okay, have this in front of you. Use your post-its as you're reading, stopping, thinking, and putting little post-it notes where you see where the author has described the setting, included any sound words, used small actions, or include lots of dialogue, and note down what the dialogue is, what you're learning from the dialogue about the characters. What do the small actions do? So this is taking it a step further. Oh, here are the small actions, Mr. Geen. Wonderful. And then you read on. No. What do the small actions do? How do they help paint the picture for you? Sound words. Here's one. What's the point of it? Why has the author used it? Really thinking hard. And setting description. Describing the setting. When have they put it in? How have they done it? What have they described? Maybe taking 2 or 3 words and seeing if you could use those words in your writing. Are there any new bits of vocabulary that you could use in your writing? So, loads to do, focusing on these 4 things today. Make sure you're jotting notes as you go. You should be stop and jotting all the time with your reading. It's much more fun just to read, but if you're not stopping and jotting, you're not thinking. And you need to stop and think. Even if you're on level H or you're on level Z, stopping and thinking is what is required. So, really identifying today how authors paint pictures with their words. Go have some fun.